Hey everyone, FinTech here. Cryptocurrencies have been all over the place recently, with coins like Bitcoin hitting a low in January, rising through March, and then crashing again through May. Meanwhile, coins like Solana saw a 50% price increase in a single month back in April before similarly dropping. It seems like the crypto roller coaster never ends. But in this video, I'm going to go over my top 5 crypto picks for the future. These aren't short-term bets. These are the projects I think are the most likely to make a positive return over a 5 to 10 year time horizon. Enough time for multiple Bitcoin cycles and for some of these coins which have only popped up in the last few years to really prove themselves on a global scale. And at the end of the video, I'll let you know which of these coins is my personal favorite for the long run, and it might not be what you think. So hit the like button if you want, and let's start with number 5 on my list. The first crypto I think will have a very positive return in the future is Solana. And by the way, these aren't in any particular order. There's really one big differentiator for Solana. It's fast. Like, really fast. Solana theoretically supports speeds up to 710,000 transactions per second, which could go even higher once hardware improves. Though for now, they are only running at 2,500 transactions per second. For comparison, Ethereum runs at 30 transactions per second and Bitcoin runs at 5. And this speed is partly why Solana has one of the fastest growing crypto developer communities in the world, 5xing their number of developers last year alone. This makes them one of the largest developer communities behind only Ethereum, Polkadot, and maybe Cosmos. And Solana's incredible speed also made them the blockchain of choice when FTX, one of the largest crypto exchanges in the world, looked to create a decentralized exchange. And FTX ultimately picked the much smaller Solana project over Ethereum to run this core part of their business, which is a huge endorsement of Solana's network. But that isn't even the most exciting thing about Solana, which is literally managing to outpace other blockchain projects. There are 2 reasons that Solana is so much faster than everybody else. The first is their unique proof of history model. This model is written into Solana's very origins with the Solana white paper released in 2017. Now, you may have heard terms like proof of work or proof of stake in the past, but you can ignore those for now since proof of history is a totally different thing. See, a normal blockchain keeps track of transactions by updating every node on the network with every other transaction. That way, everyone agrees about who owns what. But with large network loads spread over the entire globe, that can create a bottleneck in transaction processing. Now, Solana's proof of history gets around that by adding a timestamp to each transaction. So as soon as one node processes a transaction, it can send it out without waiting for every other node around the world to respond. A normal blockchain is almost like me handing you a book one word at a time to keep everything in order, while proof of history just gives you the whole book at once, and you know the correct order of transactions from the timestamps. This is pretty unique to Solana, and it's been absolutely instrumental in Solana's growth, but it's not the only speed differentiator. The second is Solana's use of the Rust programming language, which is a very fast programming language that is used outside of blockchain in enterprise and personal coding projects all the time. You can compare this to the more common language for blockchain smart contracts, Solidity, which is used by chains like Ethereum. But because Rust is used outside of crypto development, Solana has a much larger pool of developers to pull from outside the blockchain space. Plus, Rust offers substantial performance benefits over Solidity. And while I used to kind of worry about Solana's use of Rust preventing them from moving their dApps or decentralized apps that run on top of Solana's chain over to other Solidity-based chains, Solana has at least partially solved that with a technology they call Solana Wormhole. Wormhole lets developers on Solana connect with other blockchains, currently supporting 9 projects such as Ethereum, Binance, Polygon, and Terra. While you still can't copy and paste an Ethereum app to Solana, it at least makes it easier for data to flow cross-chain, which means developers could use Solana's speed while still interacting with other blockchain communities. So Solana's speed is basically unmatched among the largest blockchain projects, and we can clearly see in Solana's number of developers, their projects, and their use cases that it is having a massive effect on their success. And I think this is only the beginning for Solana. Number 4 on our list is Bitcoin. Now, this might seem like an obvious choice, but let me get into some details you may not be aware of that could impact Bitcoin's price going forward. So Bitcoin is obviously the grandfather of cryptos. It's been around since Satoshi Nakamoto wrote a white paper on it and minted block 0 on the chain way back in 2009. And it's been the largest crypto by market cap ever since. Bitcoin's biggest advantage currently is how ubiquitous its name is and how closely associated it is with the word blockchain. For example, if we compare Google searches for Bitcoin to searches for Ethereum, it's not even close. The blue line here represents Bitcoin always being around 4 to 5 times higher than Ethereum's redline. So you may wonder, where can Bitcoin go from here if it's already number one? Well, I think Bitcoin's real potential is in capturing new crypto investors who aren't already in the ecosystem. According to research from the New York Digital Investment Group in 2021, only 46 million people own Bitcoin, which would equal around 22% of the US population, but spread out over the entire globe. Most people, even most investors, do not own any Bitcoin. So how can we predict where Bitcoin's price is going to go from here? Well, one framework for understanding Bitcoin's inconsistent but unstoppable rise over the last several years is a continual process of discovery, adoption, and accumulation. Roughly every 4 years, Bitcoin's issuance rate is cut in half, which puts a strain on Bitcoin's supply. This, in simple supply and demand terms, would mean that the price of Bitcoin would need to go up if demand stays constant. And so far, this theory has roughly matched what we actually expect to see in Bitcoin's price data. This chart shows a steep rise in price in the days following a halving event, with some variations between the 3 examples shown in red, black, and green. Unfortunately, there have only been 3 halvings so far, so there's not a ton of data available to prove this conclusively, but the trend does seem to be there. But on the flip side, if everyone knows the next halving is coming, they might start buying Bitcoin before the event, causing the price to rise sooner than expected and removing any effect when the halving does actually happen. So it's hard to say if we'll continue to see the same sort of price rise after the next halving, but with the next event expected in 2024, I guess we'll find out soon enough. But there's another theory that tries to describe Bitcoin's wild price swings, and that is that Bitcoin's price follows attention. And as a new and larger percentage of the world buy into Bitcoin with each cycle, the price goes up more each time because there's more people. Some people then start to take profits, the price goes down a little, the new entrants panic, and the price sells off, setting Bitcoin up for the next cycle when even more people jump into it. Now, if either of these theories are true, we would see a repeat of past patterns where Bitcoin eventually ends up substantially more valuable than it was during a sell-off cycle, like we're seeing now. I tend to think that will happen, but the hard part is Bitcoin's price could be cut in half between now and then, so it takes a very high level of conviction to ride out the bad times. Most likely, Bitcoin will be substantially more valuable 5 years from now than it is today. Third up on our list is Polkadot, which may be my favorite crypto project from a technical point of view. See, Polkadot isn't like other blockchains. Yes, it still has smart contracts. Yes, it can run both Solidity programming and Rust programming on the network, but what really makes Polkadot unique is its use of parachains. Parachains are blockchain projects built by people in the community that run on top of Polkadot's main chain, and these projects can actually add new functionality to Polkadot over time, allowing the network to improve rather than staying rigidly locked to whatever the creator originally laid out for the blockchain, which historically has been one of the biggest issues facing cryptos in general. Some of the projects that have launched on blockchain include Moonbeam, which enables easy compatibility with Ethereum through Solidity contracts, or Akala, which added DeFi capabilities, or Parallel Finance, enabling lending. We keep seeing new functionality added to Polkadot every week, so from a technology sense, it is literally getting better week after week. Now, from a tokenomics point of view, Polkadot also has some things going for them that could increase their price in the long run. In addition to more people moving assets onto Polkadot as it improves, Polkadot also enables users to use their DOT tokens to vote for new parachains to add to the network, something known as parachain auctions. You can see a list of these auctions if you go to parachains.info and just scroll down through the list of projects either being built or currently being bidded on. If you were to use some of your DOT tokens to vote for a project and that project won, they would pay you out an award, which you can see on the right side of the page here, and your DOT tokens would in exchange be locked up for 2 years, effectively decreasing the total DOT supply temporarily. Now, up until Q1 2022, around 130 million total DOT tokens have been locked this way, which means that theoretically DOT's total supply is being driven down by these auctions. So you can make money by bidding on parachains, and you can also make money if Polkadot itself increases in value, which is why this is one of my personal favorite crypto projects. One thing to note here is if you do hold Polkadot, you're going to want to either stake it yourself or with an exchange like Voyager or Kraken, since if you don't, Polkadot will experience around 10% inflation per year. Now, both Voyager and Kraken will give you 12% per year when you stake Polkadot with them, and I'll include an affiliate link to Voyager in the description below. Fourth and number 2 on our list, we have a coin that bills itself as the next generation of cryptos. If Bitcoin was generation 1 with its decentralized trust, and Ethereum was generation 2, adding smart contracts to the chain, generation Generation 3 is Cardano, which was actually founded by another one of Ethereum's original founders, Charles Hoskinson, in 2017. Cardano, similar to Solana, is built to be fast, with the potential to scale up to 1 million transactions per second, blowing the other chains out of the water in terms of speed. But I said could go that fast. See, currently Cardano does not process nearly that many transactions because, quite frankly, they don't need to. The highest I've seen it reported to go is 250 transactions per second, and this is because Cardano is built to scale its speed as it adds users. So once the network is larger, it will naturally increase its transaction speed as well. The founders of Cardano describe its life cycle in 5 stages: foundation, decentralization, smart contracts, scaling, and governance. We're in the smart contract stage right now, and their roadmap is expected to stretch out until 2025. Now, I think Cardano will most directly compete with Solana, though it has fallen behind in recent months. Since back in 2019, Cardano was actually the most worked on crypto project by developers outside of Ethereum. But if they can ramp up to processing 1 million transactions per second, they may become the blockchain of choice for developers and enterprises alike, which they explicitly target on their website. Now, I'm not as confident in Cardano as some of my other picks, especially number 5 coming up, but I like it enough for it to make this list. Which leads us to number 1, which is Ethereum, which again is an obvious choice, but I think many underestimate how important Ethereum is going to be going forward. I mentioned that both Polkadot and Solana are trying to create cross-chain connections, but guess who everyone is connecting to? It's Ethereum. That's why it's on the screen right now. It's hard to imagine a future where cryptos, where Ethereum doesn't play at least some role. But let's look at how big Ethereum could get and how it could even one day surpass Bitcoin in value, an event referred to in hushed whispers as the flippening. Ethereum's been around since 2015, and it's sort of the father of all smart contract technology. NFTs, dApps, DeFi, it all starts with Ethereum. But let's now focus on the future and a set of improvements Ethereum is rolling out that used to be referred to as Ethereum 2.0 that will change the way Ethereum works completely. The Ethereum upgrades have 3 separate stages they will follow: the beacon chain, the merge, and shard chains. First off, Ethereum wants to move from its current proof of work model to proof of stake. Proof of work is where miners have to solve complex mathematical problems to verify transactions on the network. This is generally considered the most secure way of running a blockchain, but it wastes huge amounts of electricity. Bitcoin alone uses more energy than a small country, and while many argue that that could be offset by renewable energy still isn't free. I don't know if you've looked at solar panel prices recently, but despite many recent improvements, they are still not cheap. Proof of stake is the new model Ethereum is moving to, where people use their ownership in the network itself to secure it. Basically, they stake their Ethereum, and if they're caught being shady, they lose all that money. Sounds good on the surface, but up until now, Ethereum's proof of stake rollout has been extremely delayed. Originally slated to launch in 2019, just the first step in the process, launching the Ethereum 2 beacon chain, didn't happen until December 2020. Now, this beacon chain is a separate version of Ethereum running on proof of stake just to test everything out and make sure it works. Now, step 2 is called the merge, and it will be where Ethereum merges with the Ethereum 2 chain and adds proof of stake to the entire network. And while some will argue that proof of stake and saving energy isn't a big deal, according to this report by Dee Choi and colleagues from a global collection of universities, environmental dimensions are one of the critical determinants of resistance to blockchain. So removing the bulk of environmental impact of blockchains by moving to proof of work could drastically grow Ethereum's use by people outside of the still very niche blockchain community. Then the third stage for Ethereum will be to roll out shard chains, expanding Ethereum's ability to store and process data. This will allow Ethereum to increase its speed from its current 30 transactions per second up to 100,000 transactions per second, although there may be some delay between when the shard chains are rolled out and when Ethereum starts to hit those kind of numbers. But just imagine, in 5 years, once these upgrades have hopefully long been completed, Ethereum boasts not only the largest blockchain developer community, but a larger dev team than many companies due to the speed and ease of adding to the network, and an expanded user base with the removal of any environmental concerns. That's an Ethereum that could feasibly pass Bitcoin to become the largest cryptocurrency in the world. So to summarize my full list of the top 5 cryptos to buy now, we have Solana, Bitcoin, Polkadot, Cardano, and Ethereum. I think between these projects, we have a pretty decent cross-section of cryptos represented, presented, while still focusing mainly on already large projects that, in my opinion, have a very low chance of ever going to zero, while still having huge upside potential. My personal favorite of these is Polkadot for its cross-network capabilities and self-improvement parachain mechanism, but I'm also kind of a technology nerd, so maybe that's why. But let me know what cryptos you would add to this list. Also, check out Voyager in the description to get $15 in free Bitcoin when you sign up. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.